OK, let's discuss clickjacking defenses. So we'll separate the defenses into two categories. One is visual integrity. One is temporal integrity, kind of like how we talked about clickjacking in space and also in time. So one thing we can do is enforce integrity in space. In other words, the browser is responsible for displaying things to you in a way that's easy for the user to understand and helps the user understand what they're clicking on. So one example of the browser enforcing this is when the browser asks you for permission to do something possibly dangerous, like do you want to allow the program to make changes to your computer? Do you really want to download this file? What the browser will do is it will intentionally darken everything around the pop-up box so that your eyes are focused on the pop-up box and you're not accidentally tempted to click somewhere else. So we're focusing your attention on this box that was generated by the browser. This way, clickjacking can't steal the user's attention and make them look somewhere else. Something else that Firefox does, for example, some of their pop-ups intentionally cross the boundary above where the web page normally is into this address bar. And that's something that Firefox enforces that normal websites can't do. So if you see the pop-up box hover over the top of where the address bar and the bookmark bar is, that's a sign that Firefox is really drawing this. And this is not some malicious box drawn by the attacker. So there's different ways that the browser itself can make sure that its dialogues are drawn in a way that's more protected or makes the user focus on a specific place. And temporal integrity is to defend against attacks in time. So one thing we can do is actually freeze the screen for some time so that the attacker knows, or the user knows what they're looking at before they click on it. So something that Firefox does, for example, when you click download, it actually doesn't let you click the OK button. I don't know if anyone's ever noticed this. And the reason why they don't let you click the OK button right away is because maybe this pop-up was generated maliciously in response to a malicious input. And a careless user might just click the OK without knowing what they're clicking on. So by forcing you to wait 1 second, it forces you to look at this and understand what you're clicking on before the OK button becomes ungray and lets you click on it. So another possible defense against clickjacking, and remember clickjacking has to do with stealing a user's click so that they do something unintended, is to double check that the user actually intended to click on something. So the browser itself can be designed so that if a user clicks on, say, a download button, the browser will actually say, are you sure you want to download this thing? Can you double check that this is what you really intended? And if the user's click was stolen, maybe the confirmation box will tell the user to double check and let them realize that that was not what they were intending to download. Now, one drawback here is that sometimes if you keep asking for confirmation, the user gets annoyed, and they just always click yes, which defeats the whole point. So once again, we have to consider human factors. Now, a more server-side defense to clickjacking is something called frame busting. And the idea here is to have a certain website say, if you want to load my website, you are not allowed to embed my website inside someone else's website. So this is something that the server can specify. For example, in the HTTP response, they could specify some content security policy that says, here is the HTML web page that you requested, but I'm not going to allow you to embed this inside someone else's website. So you either display me as the only frame, or you show an error and don't display me at all. And what's good about this is it busts some of those invisible iframe attacks where we put two frames on top of each other, or we have an invisible frame. If the website itself says it refuses to be framed by other websites, that could be one way to stop that particular website from clickjacking attacks.